Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We're going to be live in 30 seconds on the radio, and I'm going to jump right into this incredibly historic trip that President Trump has made, and he has done something no president has ever done before. And your calls, if you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the chat. Here we go. 10 seconds. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Welcome, one and all. And we have so much to cover. President Trump making history. You know, the media aren't going to present this in its proper way, which I'm going to do for you right now. And I challenge you to give me an example to show me where I'm wrong with the premise I'm going to lay out right now, all right? This is the most historic presidential international tour that this country has ever had with a sitting United States president. President Trump has made history in many, many ways, but he has done something that no president of the United States has done. You know, just yesterday, he signed this deal. You know, he's over there in Qatar, and he made a deal for 1.2 trillion with a T, a $1.2 trillion in economic investments into the United States, including hundreds of billions of dollars in a contract with Boeing, which is the largest single contract Boeing has ever had. And we're going to go through and break this down. And what President Trump has done that no American president has ever done is travel abroad on a diplomatic tour, meet with foreign leaders, and have literally trillions of dollars of investment pour back into the United States. No president's ever done that. The other presidents do it in reverse. They take a diplomatic mission, they go to other countries, and then they give away our money. Billions and billions. They give our money away. They never bring money back. President Trump is the first president to do that. And what he did in Qatar was spectacular. Okay? So earlier in the week, the story came out that Qatar was going to gift President Trump a $400 billion aircraft. And it's a gift to the United States, not to him personally. He'll just receive it on behalf of the United States, President Trump. President Trump says the plane's worth $1 billion. And all week long, the fake news media, the Democrats, the never-Trumpers, fake MAGA, Ben Shapiro, and others have been attacking President Trump, accusing him of taking bribes. Oh, it doesn't look right. He should do it. And then yesterday, he brings the head of Boeing to Qatar, and he signs the biggest deal that he brokered with Qatar that Boeing has ever had. The Qatar Airlines is going to buy over $500 billion in Boeing aircraft, plus another over $500 billion of other economic investment into the United States. And, you know, the crazy thing about it is Trump had this deal set up in advance. That's why Qatar is gifting the United States this airplane. And President Trump knew all week long that this deal was going to be signed with Boeing and this investment in the United States. And even though you never-Trumpers out there, the fake news media, fake MAGA, fake conservatives like Ben Shapiro and others, were accusing him of taking a bribe all week long. He didn't say a darn word about these Qatar deals or the Boeing deal in particular, and none of it, even though we already knew it was happening. And there's a number of reasons for that, but one of them is this. He doesn't care what the media thinks. He doesn't care what the Democrat thinks, and he doesn't care what the never-Trumpers think. President Trump is not going around trying to sell what he's doing to people that don't support him. He's done with that. That ended in Butler with you never Trumpers. So this is from the White House office. Here it is. President Donald J. Trump secures historic $1.2 trillion economic commitment from Qatar. Now, I'm saying that this is the first time an American president has gone abroad and brought hundreds of billions of dollars in money, really well over $1 trillion, back in the United States. No president's ever done this. The other ones just give our money away. Now, if you don't agree with that, share with me when another president of the United States, and I don't want to go back to, the 1800s or the 1900s. I'm talking about, let's keep it from President Clinton forward, okay? Is that far enough back, President Clinton? But let's keep it to the modern era. You can go back further if you want. But when has a president of the United States of America traveled abroad, other than Donald Trump, and brought hundreds of billions of dollars back to the United States? Over $1 trillion. When has that happened? Now, a lot of people say Qatar supports Hamas. Well, what does that mean? There's a lot of Americans in our government that support Hamas, right? It's called the Democrat Party. Chuck Schumer, the United States Senator, senior senator from New York, supports Hamas. So what does that mean? So back to this. Now, this was released yesterday, but in Qatar, President Trump signed an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion. President Trump also announced economic deals totaling more than $243.5 billion between the United States and Qatar, including an historic sale of Boeing aircraft and GE aerospace engines to Qatar Airways. This is amazing. Boeing and GE Aerospace. Now, this is just the deal that President Trump signed yesterday. Boeing and GE Aerospace secured a landmark order from Qatar Airways, a $96 billion agreement to acquire up to 210 American-made 787 Dreamliner and 777X aircraft powered by GE Aerospace engines. This is Boeing's largest ever wide-body order and the largest ever 787 order. This historic agreement will support 154,000 U.S. jobs each year, totaling over 1 million jobs in the United States during the course of production and delivery of this deal. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. When has something like this happened? When has something like this happened? Prior to Trump? Never. McDermott has a strong partnership with Qatar Energy in advancing critical energy infrastructure with 7 active projects worth $8.5 billion. Parsons has successfully won 30 projects worth $97 billion with Qatar. This is absolutely amazing. The defense deals secured yesterday. Remember, Pete Hegseth was over there signing deals too. The defense deals secured lock in Qatar's procurement of state-of-the-art military equipment from 2 leading U.S. defense companies. Raytheon and RTX secured a $1 billion. This was just yesterday. All this happened yesterday. Secured a $1 billion agreement for Qatar's acquisition of counter-drone capabilities. General Atomics secured a $2 billion agreement for Qatar's acquisition of remotely piloted aircraft. The United States and Qatar also signed a statement of intent to further strengthen our security partnerships, outlining over $38 billion in investments, including support for an air base and other defense capabilities. I mean, this goes on and on. This is just Qatar. So when has another president of the United States traveled abroad in the time that at least I've been alive. That's 1971, 54 years ago, over half a century, and brought money back to the United States like this. I don't know of a single instance like this. The other ones just give money away. Now, if you're on hold, hang in there. I'd like to hear your thoughts on all of this. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. Exactly. When has a president done anything like this before? Does anyone have an example? I don't think so. I don't think so. Nope. Never happened before. Never happened before. Yes, other presidents have traveled abroad. I'm talking about brought back hundreds of billions of dollars in U.S. investment. That's different. I'm not asking for presidents that have traveled abroad. They all do that. We'll be back in 2 minutes. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. It's toll free no matter where you are tuned in from. Yes, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Absolutely. And you like my Gulf of America shirt? This is a nice shirt, isn't it? Gulf of America. The other ones have just given our money away. That's what they do. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. This is the most pro-Donald Trump place you will find anywhere. MAGA for life, man. About a minute, we'll be back. Mm-hmm. – 35 seconds, we'll be back. And this is just one country. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We are celebrating this historic Middle Eastern diplomatic trip that the president has taken. Let's take some calls before we get into some more. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. This is David from Tamarack.
Hey, David. What's up?
Let me first start by saying, yes, it used to be when we're on hold, we used to be able to listen to the show. Now we're hearing the hold music, so we're a little bit...
That's okay.
It's a little different, but... Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to add one thing to what you said. Beside for everything you said, President Trump, in his trip to the Middle East, met with Syrian President El-Julani, and he's talking about bringing in Syria into the Abraham Accords.
That's crazy.
It was announced yesterday.
That's amazing.
That is pretty darn amazing for an American president.
You know, and a lot of fake MAGA, like Mark Levin, you know, they're saying, "Oh, they were behind 9/11. Oh, I said it. They were that 9/11. 9/11." Listen, I understand. Okay, you know, 9/11 was god awful. However, it was 24 years ago. You know,
I think it's a great thing that they're doing that.
It's awesome.
It's a great thing. It's not a bad thing. Mark Levin's wrong, though.
Mark Levin's a jerk, okay? 24 years after Pearl Harbor was 1965. Were we not doing deals with Japan and Germany in 65 because of Pearl Harbor? You understand what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, give me a break.
Of course. Plus, I think he's going to wrap up Saudi Arabia in the Abraham Accords with the next few months. This is brilliant. He's the most brilliant president in the world.
You know what he's doing? I wouldn't be surprised that by the end of his term, the United States joins OPEC. We have more oil than Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would be crazy.
I know.
That's a mind blower.
Well, I'm glad that you see what's going on here, the genius of Trump. I appreciate the call. All right, take care. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call. Whether you agree or disagree on what we're talking about, you're welcome to call in. But I'd like to hear another president, a story, you guys out there, another president, not who's traveled abroad, they all do that, another president who's traveled abroad and brought hundreds of billions of dollars of investment back into the United States, as opposed to giving away billions of dollars of American taxpayer money to other countries. And, what I was talking about, a lot of the neocon fake MAGA people like Mark Levin and others, okay, who don't like these deals, what President Trump is doing in the Middle East is amazing, okay? He is forming new alliances. Did you see the welcoming yesterday that they gave President Trump in Qatar? They had the fighter jets give Air Force One an escort into the airport, which was beautiful. And it was reported the last time that happened was President Reagan, last time a country did that. When he landed, they had the most beautiful honor guard with the red Tesla Cybertrucks as an escort for the beast and everything. It was amazing. And I saw how they decorated the streets with beautiful American flags honoring our country and showing such great respect for our president, for the United States and the American people. These are rich countries. Rich countries. And President Trump is forming new alliances, not with these welfare queens in Europe. At that Munich conference a couple of months back, Vice President J.D. Vance, he said to them, "What are we have this NATO alliance. What are we allied on? What do we have in common? What goals we have?" Europe is a tourist trap that does nothing but steal and suck money away from the United States. These countries in the Middle East aren't welfare queens like Europe. They're rich. And they're investing money, literally trillions of dollars, into the United States. This is unheard of, what President Trump is doing. And, to take countries, it is not unusual for former enemies to become friends. I talked about, I heard Mark Levin and some of these others talk about Qatar and Syria and Afghanistan's role in 9/11. And I get that. And I remember 9/11. I was live on the air when it happened. But it was 24 years ago. 24 years after Pearl Harbor was 1965. We were doing dealings with Germany and Japan in 1965. Hardcore. Okay? And nobody argued against that at the time. Right? Look at all the Japanese investment that Trump's brought into the country. They're moving. How many of you drive a Japanese-made vehicle? Right? How many of you drive BMWs? Exactly. How long are you going to hold grudges against these countries? See, Mark Levin and these fake MAGA people, what they are establishment Republicans who, like Nikki Haley, want endless total war to feed the military-industrial complex. That's what the old Republican Party is about. The new Republican Party, led by Donald Trump, is about what? Richness. You look at these Middle Eastern countries, we're richer than they are. We are. We're the richest country in the world, the United States. But look at our airports. They suck. Look at our roads. They're falling apart. Why does Qatar look the way it does and our country doesn't? You know why? Because of the thieves that are stealing from the treasury that Doge has been finding out about. Because of Europe not paying their NATO dues. Because of Canada and the EU and India and all these countries ripping us off with the tariffs. All these things. In our country, our airports, our roads, our bridges, our country should look like those countries do. Brand new and beautiful and spotless. Not like the third world, like so much of our country looks like. Because people in our government spend so much time all they do is steal money from the treasury. They don't do anything to help us. So as opposed to having endless wars, which is what the Mark Levin neocon people want, President Trump is bringing America's golden age. And a part of that golden age is a great era of financial gain for the United States. And that is what we are seeing. Now, I was talking yesterday, the Middle East is that one part of the world that there's always a war, a skirmish, a bombing. A president's always moving an aircraft carrier group. You know, there's always some violence going on, some warlike or semi-warlike scenario. How smart is it for Trump to go over there and make friends with these people, including Syria? Think about that. Syria. And we know the background of that guy. It's not good, but so what? Go look what the Japanese did to American service people in the Philippines after the fall. You going to hold that against them? It's not good. We remember it. But come on. And for those of you in the anti-Semite crowd who say that Trump's controlled by Israel and Jews and all this anti-Semitic garbage you spew, do you think that Netanyahu's happy about these Middle Eastern deals? I don't think so. I don't think so. Netanyahu wants war with Iran. Trump said no. And he's found another way to break Iran, which is to become friends with all the nations that border them. This is an amazing thing. I mean, think about it. Imagine a world without terrorism. That is where we are moving right now. Now, I'll take some more calls after the bottom of the hour break. If you're on hold, hang in there. You know, our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We've got a lot to cover, and I am going to cover a lot of other things as the show goes on, but we're going to go through these things from time to time on the program, and you're welcome to call in about anything I brought up so far, even when I move on to some other topics in the next segment. Now, the most important day of the year is right around the corner. Do you guys know what the most important day of the year is? Father's Day. That's right, Father's Day. And, you know, there's no better place to do your Father's Day shopping than MyPillow.com. And I'm here to tell you, while you can use our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, for huge savings on all the deals at MyPillow.com, and there's great things for dad at MyPillow.com, there's not a dad on the planet Earth who would not like a pair of MyPillow slippers, and they're $90 off. These are beautiful, comfortable slippers, and the stress will just leave your body when you put your feet in them, Dad. And I know I have the MyPillow slippers. So does Steve Kane. They are spectacular. They're good for all day wear, and they're $90 off with our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. They come in many different colors, and they have large and wide sizes for the bigger guys. And remember, Dad isn't just your dad. He's your grandpa, your son who has children, or your husband. Okay, guys? You know, you got your wife. You got your wife something for Mother's Day. You want MyPillow slippers for Father's Day. $90 off. Isn't that a great deal? With our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, at MyPillow.com. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. That's absolutely right. Yep, if you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. And if you're already subscribed, please like and share the video on your socials. Really? He just secured 1 million jobs for Americans, high-paying jobs, too. How's that not doing something for Americans? I'll check it out.
Kentucky and California.
iHeartRadio is working. I got it on right now. It's iHeartRadio is working. Mm-hmm. That's iHeartRadio. Mm-hmm. Oh, these are 6-figure jobs. 6-figure jobs.
Welcome to the program, Eric.
Okay. No, iHeart's working. I just checked. $30. We'll be back. That's right. We're back, everyone. I'm Brian. This is Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Callers on hold, stand by. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We're celebrating, just in Qatar, over $1 trillion in investment into the United States, brokered by President Trump. That's why Qatar gifted the United States of America this beautiful airplane. Okay, and this is awesome. Nothing like this has ever been done. Over 1 million jobs just in the Boeing deal, and these are high-paying 6-figure jobs, courtesy of President Trump. Isn't that awesome? It's absolutely amazing. And you know, the Democrats, the left, they spend their time helping not American people. They want to help people that are not American for some reason, which I can't quite figure out. And there's an example of that in the news today. A 15-year-old illegal who killed a Colorado drug rehab worker in a high-speed crash in a residential neighborhood was given a slap on the wrist by a Democrat prosecutor endorsed by several prominent party members. I'm reading this story in the New York Post today. The illegal is a Colombian national and a juvenile. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation. He killed someone. 2 years probation for killing someone. It's crazy. He was given 2 years probation and 100 hours of community service. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't even talk. He got 100 hours of community service. He's got to spend 100 hours picking garbage up off the side of the road. I did not know that. Oh, okay. The illegal was sentenced to 2 years probation and 100 hours of community service for the July 24th death of Caitlin Weaver. The district attorney offered the teen the plea deal if he admitted guilt in the deadly crash and promised to attend school. Oh, he had to promise to go to school, even though he's illegal and he's getting a free education. And he also had to promise not to break any more laws. Well, every second he's in the country, he's breaking a law. He's here illegally. He killed an American girl. 100 hours of community service, 2 years probation, and he has to go to school. Well, he has to promise to go to school. You can't make this up. New York Post. I did post this on my X, Brian Craig Show on X, guys. The illegal teen was racing his mother's Jeep Cherokee at over 90 miles per hour through a posted 45-mile-an-hour street when he slammed into Weaver's Volkswagen in Aurora, Colorado. He's 15. He's not even old enough to drive. He's illegally driving at deadly speeds, and he killed someone. The girl, age 24, was killed instantly. She was speaking with her boyfriend on speakerphone when she stopped at a stop sign, allowing a car to pass before she crossed into the intersection and was T-boned by the illegal. She didn't even see him coming. That's how fast it was going, her father said. The driver's side of her car was completely mangled in the crash. Weaver spent 2 days in the hospital before her parents took her off life support and donated her organs to others. See, this is Obama, Biden, Kamala dreamers. These are the dreamers. He has a dream to come to America. He's here illegally. I bet his mom's illegal too. You know, and these idiot liberals, what do they say? Well, how many Americans kill people in car accidents? These are crimes. These are deaths that never would have happened if Obama, Biden, and Willie Brown's girlfriend and resident alcoholic Kamala Harris did their job. The illegal teen was unlicensed to drive the car. He had other kids in the car with him at the time of the crash. He was charged with vehicular homicide. Colorado state law prohibits minors from being public identified, so we don't know his name, but we know he's an illegal. His mom told investigators she planned to move him back to Colombia. But the teen has since filed for asylum, CBS News reports. If it wasn't for Obama, Biden, and Kamala, this girl would be alive today. Her whole life was stolen from her. 24-year-old girl. Shame on you. You Democrats should be ashamed of yourselves. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, Jogn from Maine. That was really fast.
Hey, Jogn. I can put you back on hold if you'd like. No. There's other callers.
No, I'm good.
There's other callers. I just took a call randomly.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess I got a couple things I'd like to talk about, if that's okay. I'll let you pick.
Okay.
You want to talk about Madbury versus Madison? You want to talk about Joe Biden? Or do you want to talk about birthright citizenship?
Well, since we've got one of your liberal dreamers who just killed a 24-year-old girl and got away with it, let's talk about your illegals.
Listen. I'm as much of a xenophobe as the next guy.
You're a what?
I'm not much for that shit.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. First dump of the day. Okay. First dump of the day. It's too bad. I wanted to talk to that idiot, but he dropped one of the words. Okay. We got a couple rules on this program. Okay. You can't use profanity because you can't use the profanity on the radio. And the second one is one call per day. Now, you can call every day, but it's only one call per day. If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, boy, as we wait for the delay to re-engage. What is it with people today with the profanity? And you don't have to agree to call in. You can disagree and call in, but you cannot use profanity. And that's just the law. I mean, if we're up to me, I'd let you use it. But we're on the radio, and you cannot use profanity on the radio. All right, the delay is re-engaged. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. The rest of you on hold, stand by. There's another story. This is an amazing story. If you're on hold, I'll get you your calls in a minute. This goes to the other story. This was the lead story in the Daily Mail today. There's an American, they call it an American rock band by the name of Lord Buffalo. I've never heard of them before. Has anyone heard of this band called Lord Buffalo? An American rock band was left heartbroken about having to cancel their European tour after their drummer was forcibly removed from their flight. Then his criminal record was exposed. The band Lord Buffalo, that I've never heard of, revealed that Customs and Border Protection removed their drummer from the plane at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport on Monday. He has not been released. The band says we've been unable to contact him. Well, he's a green card holder from Mexico. Wait a minute. They said they're an American band, but their drummer is a green card holder from Mexico? That's not an American band. That's like a American-Mexican band. Anyway, they said they were heartbroken. They had to cancel their tour. Hire another drummer. It's not Phil Collins you got there. My goodness. Genesis would they cancel a tour if Phil Collins couldn't drum? The band says, we're currently working with an immigration lawyer to find out more. However, the Department of Homeland Security said the drummer, is a lawful permanent resident, but he was apprehended on outstanding warrants and a criminal record. See, when you are a green card holder, and you break the law, green card gets revoked. The drummer had a warrant for his arrest for violating a restraining order at least twice. Homeland Security says, if you come to our country and break our laws, you'll be arrested. He was attempting to leave the U.S., and that's when he was apprehended. I'm sorry. These green card holders that have committed crimes, you're out. It invalidates your green card. All right. Let's try another call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning. So it's Al from Lake Worth.
Yes, Al from Lake Worth. What's up?
So I'm having a hard time hearing you. So I'm a little upset. This no tax on overtime. I guess evidently it's up to $10,000 a year. Is that correct?
I don't know what the limit is. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, and they're saying it's not on payroll. It's on.
Well, first of all, I don't know who's saying that. The bill hasn't even been fully written yet, and it hasn't been voted on yet. So what people are saying, when some of the things you're hearing are not, the bill is not written yet. It's being written.
Okay, so we'll have more information on that soon then, is what you're saying.
Well, when the bill is done and they go to vote on it, we'll know everything, yes.
Okay. Did you read up on the 80,000 pages on the JFK assassination?
No. Did you?
No. But I got the gist of it from somebody.
We know what happened. This is listen. The JFK files, there's nothing in there. Nothing in there, okay? The criminals don't document their crimes, right? Like you go to a meeting at work, you might take notes. But do criminals take notes when they're doing a criminal conspiracy? No. This is what we know. I know who killed Kennedy. You know who killed Kennedy?
Who's that?
The same people that shot Trump and Butler.
Yep.
That's who killed Kennedy.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you there. All right, I'll get going here.
All right, Lakeworth.
Thanks.
All right, take care. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Yes, I can hear you breathing. I mean, come on. Come on. Pathetic.
Other countries are illegal. Stop calling them illegal.
Stop calling who illegal? The illegals? They whispered, stop calling them illegal. They're in the country illegally. They're illegals. It's America. We have freedom of speech here. Okay? I can call them whatever I want. If they could come here and kill 24-year-olds and get community service of 100 hours and 2 years probation, I can't call it. Yeah, I want you to think about it. I am talking about an illegal immigrant that killed a 24-year-old girl and got community service hours, 2 years probation, and he had the promise to stay in school. We're talking about another guy who is legal. Well, he was. Now he's being deported, who had restraining orders. And a caller is calling in, taking issue with me for calling an illegal who killed a 24-year-old girl and got away with it, got away with murder in the courts, and she's upset with me for calling him an illegal? I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. All right. We'll be back shortly, guys. We'll be back in 1 minute. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. Calls on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, please do. The number is 1-888. It's toll free no matter where you're listening, by the way. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. So we've got the Democrats defending killers of women and then the killer gets away with it, right? And what do we got? We got a president who just secured over $1 trillion in U.S. investment, creating over 1 million jobs just with the Boeing deal alone. And those are high-paying six-figure jobs. They most certainly are. I mean, my goodness. How many Nobel Peace Prizes should President Trump get for this trip? But, you know, the left in this country, they just, they don't get it. They're very warped. You know, there's, I don't watch too many movies, and I don't watch too many television shows. And one of the reasons I don't is because everything's so left-wing. And I try to find, you know, I go to television and movies for a little escapism. And what do I get? You know, liberal garbage. You know, we were talking earlier in the week about Conclave, which was the most offensive movie about Christianity since what was that movie? I forgot the name of the movie. The one where Defoe played Jesus. Last Temptation of Christ. That was a disgusting movie. And this new one is bad, but there's a couple of TV shows that I watch every week. And if you're on hold, stand by. I just want to mention this quickly. And that's those FBI. There's 3 FBI shows on CBS. I like the original FBI and FBI's Most Wanted. And I watch these shows every week. They were so left wing. So I watched the first one. I watched both of them last night. The first was the original FBI. The villain was a character that was supposed to be Alex Jones, who had a following of people that were going to break into a federal prison to bust out the J6ers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, they didn't call them the J6ers. They had another number and another event. And the guy wasn't named Alex Jones. He was named something Duke, like after David Duke. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is what you make of it. So then I was disgusted by it, but then FBI Most Wanted comes on, and I watch that. And then I don't know if I'll be watching these shows anymore. Any of you watch the FBI shows? FBI Most Wanted, listen to what they did. The bad guys were people that were going around dressed up as ICE agents who were not ICE agents, and they were breaking into churches and shelters harboring illegal aliens, beating up lesbian ministers, kidnapping the illegal aliens in their ICE gear, fake ICE, to harvest their organs for rich white people. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I was about to throw up. That's how the left view Americans. They hate the American people, especially the white ones. But they hate the American people. That's how they view us. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Go hide behind your rule, coward.
You can't use profanity on the radio.
I did.
You said the S word. All right? You can't use the S word on the radio. I'm not hiding behind rules. There are rules. But as a liberal, liberals, they reject rules. Whether it's the border of our country, let me tell you about the couple of rules we have on this show, right? There's 3 total rules on this program, right? 1, you cannot use profanity. And that's not even our rule. That's the law. That's U.S. law. You can't use profanity. And it goes beyond the 7 words of George Carlin. Okay? So that's 1. That's not even our rule. The other 2 rules are our rules. Okay? You can only call in once per day. Okay? And that's now you can call in every day, but you can call in once per day. Now sometimes we'll have a lunatic and we'll lift that rule, but it's our rule. And then the third rule is that Friday is open phones, but the other 4 days a week, you got to call in and talk about what we're talking about, okay? And I don't think that's unreasonable at all, especially when all the calls to this program are completely unscreened and unvetted. We do not use someone to answer the phones, and we could do that, and we have never done that, right? You call in, you get put on hold, no one answers the phone. And then when I say, you're on the air, what's your name, where you're calling from, that's the first time you're heard. Now, we could have someone answer the phones first. We do it that way for a reason, for several reasons. One, a lot of times with shows that have, like, they call them call screeners sometimes. All the other shows have them. We don't. We have somebody that could do it, but we don't. What happens is the person calling in gets off their chest what they want to say before they go on the air. So it kills the spontaneity and excitement of the call. That's one reason. We used to have a board op that wouldn't put people through because they didn't like me or Steve, and they would hang up on people, so we wouldn't get calls. That's not that Mike, our board op now, would do that, but that's one of the reasons we really started doing it. And also, other than them getting off their chest what they were going to say, which means they're repeating themselves on the air, since we don't know who's on hold, which we could do if we wanted, but we don't, that means that I don't know what's coming, right? When you call me up, since the calls are completely screenless, unvetted, you're just put on hold, I don't know what, I don't know what's coming. If you have somebody answering the phones, you have a screen, they put the name and what line they're on, sometimes where they're calling from. Just by that, you know where they're coming from a lot of times. So I don't know what's coming. And I got to deal live on the air with whatever you say to me or bring up or ask or want to talk about. So so that's why we do that by choice. So no one else does this. But see, liberals have boundary problems. Whatever the rules are, they can't obey any rules. We got a border of our country, no rule. Can't use profanity. Oh, your rules. Liberals have boundary issues. And those are, I think, very reasonable rules when you consider the benefit. No other show does what we do, taking these live calls screenless and unvetted every day, Monday through Friday for 3 hours. No one does that. Now, others don't do it because they're afraid, okay? They're afraid. Okay, and somebody actually yesterday says, well, Charlie Kirk does that at these events. Really, live? No, he doesn't. Those are recorded and edited, okay? It's not live. And a lot of people are afraid to do it live. I get it. They may not know something. So what if you don't know something? And I also think it helps you, you guys have a chance to catch us. If you catch us off guard, maybe you can catch us on something. Maybe I'm wrong, Steve's wrong or something. All in all, I think we give an incredible benefit to you guys with the screenless, unvetted live calls, 3 hours each day, Monday through Friday on this program that no one else does. And the 3 rules we have, one of them is a law, a federal law. I think that they are more than reasonable. But liberals cannot obey by the simplest of rules, right? They don't even know what gender they are half the time these days. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I didn't swear. You're hiding behind the one call, Rube. All I said was xenophobe.
Well, it sounded like the S word to me, but I'll put you back on and you can finish.
All right. I want to hear you out. If you want to change my mind, this is your opportunity.
About what?
About the Constitution.
Are you Gen Z or millennial?
Gen Z.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Gen Z,
So
another narcissist, Gen Zer, who goes around and says things and wants people to try to change their mind. Yeah, what you want me to do? You don't want me to change.
I just want to tell you the truth.
You don't want to change. You don't want me to change your mind. You just like people talking about you.
No, absolutely not true. If you're willing to hear me out, you'd understand that, but you're not. You're just willing.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something I rarely do. I got to take a break for the top of the hour. I'm going to put you on hold, and I'll take your call after the top of the hour break.
Why don't we just talk during the break, like me and you?
Because I talk on the air, not during breaks. All right.
Okay,
So come on. I'm not going to do the show during the commercials. I want people to listen to the commercials. We'll be back. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to go back to the narcissist Gen Zer, and then after we're done with that, I'll go to other calls. Talk during the break. That's crazy. Why would I do that? We'll be back in 2 minutes. Talk during the break. That cracks me up. That's the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. Back in about a minute. All right, hour number 2 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. I held over the break our wannabe David Hogg, who thinks the youth have the answers to everything. All right, go ahead. I forgot your name.
It's Jogn, and
Jogn.
I think that it's not the youth that has the answers to everything. I believe it was our forefathers, right?
Mm-hmm. Our forefathers. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So we look back at the Supreme Court case. What was it, Madbury v. Madison?
Mm-hmm.
It talks about in the final hours of John Addison's presidency, he attempted to appoint several judges, right? Then the next administration, Thomas Jefferson, comes in, and his Secretary of State refuses to deliver the commission on the appointed judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was made, the ultimate decision was that the judge was not to receive his commission because it was found that the act that he was placed in to begin with was unconstitutional. So the key quote from this case was, it is empathetically the province and duty of the Judicial Department to say what the law is.
Okay, so what's your point?
So my point is, this is a case with people who were alive during the founding of our countries. The Supreme Court made this decision all the way back then.
About
that
what?
Pretty much says that about judges having the authority to overrule federal power, overruling the actions of a president.
Okay. Now, I don't know. The president does not answer to federal judges. And you can tell yourself that all that you want. Federal courts and Supreme Courts make all kinds of rulings. And what a lot of people do is they select them. I mean, the Supreme Court said black people are property. The Supreme Court said that blacks and whites, that, when during the day of Democrat segregation, that was legal, right? Separate but equal. That was a Supreme Court ruling.
I thought the whole thing with the argument when it comes to Second Amendment was that we can't change the Constitution because the Constitution can't be changed, right? That's the whole
you can amend the Constitution. There have been and it's been amended a bunch of times. But I thought we were talking about, you said something about birthright citizenship, I thought I heard.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Like, that's another thing. An executive order can't overturn something that's in the Constitution. Okay, so
what has President Trump done?
He tried to end birthright citizenship.
He didn't. But he didn't. So he didn't violate the. He did not end birthright citizenship. So what's your problem?
So if Biden signed executive order to ban AR-15s or AK-47s or whatever you choose, whatever your gun of choice is, for me it's an AK-47. Would that be a problem? Even if it didn't work, even if it didn't work, would that be a problem? That he did that.
If who banned AK-47s?
If Biden signed an executive order to ban AK-47s, does that violate the Second Amendment, even though it gets shot down by the Supreme Court? If the same thing happened under Biden, but with the Second Amendment instead, something that you care about, would it be different?
Yeah, you can't sign an executive order to end a constitutional amendment.
But that's what he did. He signed an executive order to end the constitutional amendment. Trump did that. He tried to end the 14th Amendment via...
The birthright. Listen, the birthright. What grade are you in?
I'm in college.
Oh my goodness, there's the problem. Another college boy who thinks he knows everything. The 14th.
I don't think I know everything.
Yeah, I know. The 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment. Okay. The reason that
read it?
No, I'm not going to read it.
Why not?
Because reading on the radio puts people to sleep. It's boring. Okay, we're having a conversation.
I think that's we're talking about the 14th.
No, listen. When you grow up and have a career, and I come to the place that you work at, and with
I worked at the shipyard.
Whatever. Okay, so when I come, there we go again. Dump button again. He used the F word this time. First time he used the F word. Second time he used the S word the first time. This time the F word. Oh my goodness. And he denied using it the first time. And you know what? I don't think he knows. I think that profanity is just the way he talks, and he doesn't even realize that he says it. He used the S word in the first call. We dumped it. I lifted the one call rule, let him hold on through the break, and now we use the F word. Is that how they teach you to speak in college? Oh my goodness. And I let him break another rule, and he'll call back and he'll claim, you're not getting back on. He'll call back and claim he didn't use profanity, but he used the F word. You can't use the F word. Oh my goodness. He says he works in a shipyard. Okay, so he's going to talk like a sailor? I guess he'd be talking like a dock worker. Okay, the delay is re-engaged. Hour number 2 has more than begun. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'll take another call or two before the next break. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Oh, yes, Mike.
You know, people need to trust Trump's instincts. Trump's instincts are to keep us out of foreign entanglements and foreign wars.
Yes, that's correct, and not start any new ones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Hey, Doug.
You know, hey man, how's it going? You know, you mentioned that Mark Levin, and he's so hot on having a wall to stop Israel from getting a nuclear weapon. Okay, I guess if that's the last resort. But when I heard Russia was having rock concerts, I said, man, that's going to be the end of Russia, their way of thinking. Well, in Iran, I'm seeing people driving around Ferraris, Lamborghinis, girls dressed in hot clothes going to discos. So I think the atmosphere there is starting to change, and it's only a matter of time before they get rid of these mullahs and the people running Iran. And in the meantime, President Trump is doing the smartest thing to make them stop with this nuclear stuff by hurting them financially.
Yes.
So I think President Trump, the genius President Trump is doing his thing, and it's fantastic.
That's right. He sure is. He is a genius, no doubt. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is James from South Carolina.
Yes,
man,
South Carolina.
Took you to school, man.
Really?
He took you to school, didn't he?
What school did walk me through how he schooled me?
I mean, yeah, the law said that he used profanity twice. I mean, to hang up
It's
on
not
him,
my fault. You
because
can't use profanity. We're on the radio. You cannot use profanity on the radio. That's the law. Hello. Okay. That news to you? You're on the. Notice how he blamed me. He had to use profanity. No, it's my fault he used profanity. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, good morning. This is Jerry from out here in Maga Valley, Arizona, man. How you doing?
All right. What's up, Jerry?
Hey, you know, I know that neither one of us were alive during this time when we had the space race, right?
Well, I was alive during some of it. I mean, I was born in 1971. I mean, it was still going on a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, you're right. It was the 60s.
Remember the excitement that the people did have? You know, like just getting that, accomplishing that, coming together.
Yeah.
Well, Qatar's people not only invested inside of our president, but they just invested inside of the American workers.
And not only that, I mean, think about it, right? President Trump secured $1.2 trillion in deals from Qatar yesterday. The Boeing deal alone is 1 million jobs in the United States. And those are 6-figure jobs. Some of them might even be 7-figure jobs.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're investing inside of us. So we should actually take some type of pride in our work ethic. You know, speaking of, like, I'm actually at work right now. So, like, I just wanted to be able to make sure I just let you know we are in the great American space race right now. It's the next one, I think.
What do you mean by that? You mean what Elon Musk is doing?
Like this? Well, no. Like how the American people rallied. back then.
Oh yeah,
That's how
there's
we
an
rally
excitement.
right
There's an
now.
excitement about America that we haven't had in a while. Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's
Exactly.
like when
And
Ronald
people
Reagan
are
was
invested
president. It's
inside of the people.
well, when Reagan was president, it was Morning in America. It's Morning in America again. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Well, hey, I gotta go and get back to work, man. You stay blessed, nothing less, brother.
All right, take care. All right, now I want to tell you guys, Father's Day, right around the corner, most important day of the year. There's no better place to do your shopping than MyPillow.com. And you can use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, on all the specials at MyPillow.com. And there's a lot of things that Dad would like there, right? The MyPillow, the MyPillow bathrobe. But I'll tell you, there's not a dad on the planet Earth that would not love the MyPillow My Slippers. You know, the MyPillow slippers are $90 off with our promo code Kane. I have the MyPillow slippers. Steve Kane has them. We love them. They're made for all-day wear, even out and about. A lot of people wear their MyPillow My Slippers as regular shoes, and they're so comfortable. I know at the end of the day, when I've had a long, stressful day, and I've been on my feet, and I come home and I put my feet inside those MyPillow My Slippers, all the stress just leaves my body. It's so soft, so comfortable, and I love them. They are spectacular. They have many different colors. There's different styles. They're $90 off with our promo code Kane, Kane. They come in a great box, perfect for wrapping for Dad on Father's Day. And they have large and wider sizes for the bigger men out there. So go to MyPillow.com, get Dad a gift he will have for years to come. And that, of course, are the MyPillow slippers, $90 off. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, Kane. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll break and be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. Unbelievable. Huh. Oh, I got a sneeze coming on. I hope it comes before I come back. We'll be back in less than a minute. No, I'm checking my DMs and emails and messaging people back. That's what I'm doing when I'm in my phone during the break. Welcome back, one and all. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. My name is Brian Craig, and we are celebrating this historic diplomatic tour that the president has made, the greatest president ever, Donald Trump, through the Middle East, where he's done something that's never been done before. President Trump is a sitting president of the United States who has traveled to foreign nations and brought over $1 trillion of investment back in the United States. Every other president the other presidents have traveled the world too, but they give away American taxpayer money. They don't bring it back, which is amazing. And we're very grateful, and we're celebrating this. Now, if you have an example of a president doing what Trump has done on a tour abroad, I'd love to hear from you about that. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. How are you today?
All right. Speak up.
Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to tell you what an awesome job you're doing, man. Trump is killing it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. All right. On that point, thank you for your call. Did you see this story? You may not, unless you read Breitbart. This is some good news, but we got some information about it. This is crazy. Colorado late-term abortion clinic closes after 50 years. Oh, my goodness. And I learned something about late-term abortions, which I'll share with you in a moment in this article. But certainly that's a celebration that the late-term abortion clinic of Colorado, after 50 years, has closed. And they interview the sick, twisted doctor who will, unless he seeks forgiveness, will burn in the fiery pits of you know where. This guy's interviewed, and it's like interviewing Dr. Mengele after they shut down Auschwitz. Oh my goodness. But let me go through the article, and then we'll talk a little bit about it as we go. A Colorado clinic. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll go to the phones shortly. A Colorado clinic infamous for late-term abortions has shuttered after 50 years of being open, the Associated Press reports. The doctor said this. He's an 87-year-old doctor. He's been here since he was 37 years old. He spent his entire life doing late-term abortions. The 87-year-old clinic founder and late-term abortionist said, "It became impossible to continue, but closing is one of the most painful decisions of my life." The clinic was one of the few in the United States that aborted unborn babies after 28 weeks. And for years, he was the only abortionist in the United States who performed abortions later in pregnancy. This is according to the AP. The clinic ultimately closed because of financial issues. The doctor said many women had difficulty paying for $10,000 late-term abortions. $10,000. Who would pay $10,000 for a late-term abortion? Now, they tell us that when women who seek these abortions, they seek them out because, of all kinds of things. But $10,000? Who would pay $10,000? Think about it. There's a woman. She's desperate for that abortion. She's told it's $10,000. What woman would pay $10,000 to have an abortion? That's what he was charging. You know who? A woman that's pregnant by a man other than her husband. That's correct. Yeah, that's right. The clinic ultimately closed because of financial issues. The doctor said many women had difficulty paying the $10,000 for late-term abortions. He says, which often are not covered by insurance. There's situations where late-term abortions are covered by insurance. He said the number of long-time personal donors was also decreasing. He said he hoped someone would take over his practice, but no one ever did. He said, I had to make a decision, sort of on the basis of the situation at the moment that we couldn't continue, he said. It was a very painful decision. I see this as a personal failure. Whew. Well, this, I know it's crazy, isn't it? This abortion clinic closed for a number of reasons. Most abortions are done now with those morning after pills, right? That you can get at the local drugstore that are over the counter. So that's, young women that are pregnant take those and they avoid, the surgical abortions a lot more than they used to. But also, I believe there's been such a wave of MAGA among young people that young people of childbearing years are pro-life. That's one reason. So those are two reasons this abortion clinic is closed down. But also, when you look at people that are of childbearing years, what percentage of them are not of a gender or sexuality that has reproductive sex? So many of them are gay or different genders. They don't have reproductive sex in the numbers they used to. That's why our birth rate is barely above our death rate in America today. But this is not a sad story, Associated Press. This is a story of celebration that this late-term abortion facility closed down in Colorado. I'm very happy about it. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, Conservative Doug. I forgot something. Wait, what happened to my phone? Oh man, what happened to my phone? Oh, Brian, please forgive me, Brian. Oh,
I know your phone is in the same place that your sense of humor is. It doesn't exist. It's lost. It's in the toilet. Oh my goodness. I don't mind, troll calls like that, but have some content, be funny, be creative, All right, now, I got to tell you about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Losing all this weight that I've lost, thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret, it's been absolutely amazing. And it's kind of funny. I talk a lot about my clothes that are so... Right now, my pants, I forgot to put my belt on. My pants are falling down. I've been holding them up kind of during the show and pulling them up a lot. I've lost so much weight. But I lost weight in a place that I never expected to lose weight, and I had to adjust my hats and make all of my MAGA hats smaller. My head got smaller. I guess I had a fat head. I don't know, but my head has gotten smaller since I lost all this weight. Absolutely amazing. You lose weight everywhere. I feel great. But the other day, Dr. Zuckerman was in studio at the end of the show a couple days ago, and I was talking to Dr. Zuckerman from Coastal Weight Loss Secret after the show, and he was telling me how many of our listeners are coming in who are couples, husbands and wives coming in together to lose weight together. And that's awesome. And also how we're having listeners that are calling Coastal Weight Loss Secret from all over America. That's right. No matter where you are in the United States, Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help. You don't have to be in person and here to do it. It works. I've lost all this weight, which you've obviously been able to see, those of you who watch me on YouTube. I've lost all this weight eating foods I would normally eat. I'm not taking any prescription medications like Ozempic, and I'm doing zero exercise other than running my mouth. The only thing that I exercise is my mouth for 3 hours every morning. I do no exercise. I eat foods I would normally eat, and I'm not taking Ozempic or anything like that. And I've lost all this weight. It works. And you know what? I'm not hungry. I used to be so hungry. How many times did you hear me say, did you hear my stomach growl? Did the mic pick it up? Because I was always hungry on the air. I'm not even hungry. Give Coastal Weight Loss a secret. Give Coastal Weight Loss Secret a call. And it doesn't matter how much weight you want to lose. Everyone's different. Maybe you just want to lose 20 pounds. Maybe you want to lose 50, 75, 80, 100, 150, 300 pounds. Whatever it is, Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossSecret.com. SFjr.com. I'm Brian Craig. We'll break and be right back.
Bill from the House in this form. I think that's clear. It's got to change before it can pass the Senate.
Weaver says his daughter can
We'll be back in about a minute, guys. We are back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. Callers on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. All right, so they're trying to start another false narrative. How long will it take the fake news media to accept that they can no longer get false narratives going? They look like fools with the plane after the deal Trump made yesterday with Qatar. But they're trying to get a false narrative going that the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, President Trump are making cuts to Medicaid. That is not true, okay? This is what they're doing. They're cutting off the illegals that are on it who have no right to be on Medicaid, okay? And they're calling that cuts. And the other thing they're doing is this. They have added a work requirement. If you're between the ages of 19 and 34, they've added a work requirement to Medicaid. Okay? And I've heard some people say, well, wait a minute, there's people that are disabled. Those who are disabled are on Medicare, not Medicaid. They put a work requirement on Medicaid if you're between the ages of 19 and 34. And they're saying, oh, look at these cuts, look at these cuts. I tell people all the time, read The Art of the Deal. Read The Art of the Deal. Great book written by our favorite president, Donald Trump. And you see this in action all the time, okay? President Trump, I wish I had 1/10 of his skills. I do. I might not be a billionaire, but 1/10 of his skills, I could be a millionaire a few times over. What President Trump does in every negotiation, you see this in The Art of the Deal, and you see it in politics. When, this bill has to be voted on through both houses of Congress before it goes to his desk, right? President Trump always asks for a lot more than he wants. He doesn't ask for what he wants. He asks for a lot more than he wants. So why would he do that? So that when it comes down to negotiating, he has things to shave off. Right? So they ask for things. This is what, and since he's the leader of the party and running this in the House of Representatives, he tells them how to do it. He tells MAGA Mike Johnson, the speaker, what to do. Put a bunch of stuff in there, a whole bunch that we don't want. So these idiot Democrats could think we made concessions. Don't you get it? And no matter how many times you tell them, they still don't get it. My favorite time, it's brilliant. It's The Art of the Deal. Great book. I read it twice. I read it again a couple months ago for the first time in years, and it was better the second time. My favorite time when I saw this in action was during the first term. My favorite moment in President Trump's first term is when he had that live meeting with Pelosi and Schumer at the White House. Remember that? And they were going back and forth over the funding for the wall. And he had asked for I can't remember the exact numbers, but he had asked for $2 or $3 billion more than he wanted. And they came back with a lower number, and they came back with he asked for $8 billion for the wall. And Schumer and Pelosi, they thought they stuck it to Trump. They only gave him $5 billion. And Trump only wanted $3 billion. And they still gave him almost twice what he wanted. And they were high five. Oh, we got Trump. We got Trump. You gave him $2 billion more than he only wanted $3 billion. You gave him $5 billion, you idiots. So the discussions that are going on in the news right now about the big, beautiful bill, a lot of the things like you're hearing, Medicaid cuts. President Trump doesn't want these things. They've thrown a bunch of stuff in there so that the Democrats can whine, the fake news media can freak out, and then the Republicans say, okay, we'll take that out of the bill and pass it. And they still, because they add so many things in there, far and above what they want, President Trump always gets more than he wants. And these people, you could tell this to their face, and they still wouldn't let it sink in. Because that Trump derangement syndrome, they can't hear you. It's like when you watch Twin Peaks and some of the people are speaking like gibberish, but they're really speaking. It's like that. They just won't get it. So I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. So all this talk about the Medicaid cuts, that really that really was started by Trump and MAGA Republicans. Don't you understand? This is the plan for all of these liberal never-Trumper and liberal idiots and fake news media people to go around talking about cuts to Medicaid. They'll concede those points if they have to get it passed. They don't want it. So, it's hilarious. These people are so stupid. Now, I was talking earlier about, if you're on hold, hang in there. I'll go back to the phones in just a bit. Hopefully, we can elevate the quality of the caller. For the most part, calls have been today, quality. That's why I'm not rushing to the phone. So hopefully we'll get some higher quality calls at 1-888-465-2631. But hang in there. We'll get to the phones in a few minutes. I was talking earlier in the show, and I got a clip I want to play of this. This 15-year-old illegal killed a 24-year-old girl, American girl, stole her whole life from her. He was driving 90 miles per hour on a residential street in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. And the liberal judge gave him 2 years probation, 100 hours of community service. And the prosecutors didn't think that was enough, so they added something, the prosecutors. They added a provision, he has to promise to stay in school. He killed a girl, 24 years old, and he got away with it. Got away with it. Sick. It's disgusting. That's liberals. Here's a local news story about it.
She really spent her life wanting to help people.
John Weaver says his daughter Caitlin was a born caregiver, protective and supportive of siblings and strangers alike. A psychology major, she worked for a suicide hotline before taking a job at a drug rehab center in Aurora. It was there, her dad says, she found her calling in life.
She was really trying to make a difference in their lives every day.
It was after one of those days last July, as she drove home, her boyfriend on speaker, a nearby Ring camera recording.
Oh my goodness.
Caitlin Weaver was killed by a Jeep barreling through a residential neighborhood. The speed limit, 45. The driver, investigators say, was doing more than 90.
She didn't even see him coming. That's how fast he was going. She was effectively killed instantly.
Michelle and John Weaver removed their daughter from life support 2 days later.
How do you fathom that loss?
She was 24. The suspect, who had kids in the car with him, was 15. He was not only driving illegally, he was in the country illegally.
DA's office said that this would be a no plea deal case, so they were not going to offer any concession.
That changed, he says, when the Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office changed hands a few months later. Under DA Amy Padden, the teen, who faced up to 2 years in youth corrections for vehicular homicide, was offered 2 years probation if he pled guilty.
Why the change? If he had taken a firearm and recklessly just shot it and killed somebody, this would be a different case. They would be pushing it completely different. So there's no deterrence.
No financial liability either, despite nearly $1 million in medical bills.
Wow.
The Jeep was uninsured, and the juvenile's mom says he took it without permission. So she isn't responsible either.
Yeah,
immigration and the criminal justice system and all these things landed together one day in Aurora, and now I sit here today without a daughter.
An organ donor, Caitlin Weaver, continues to live on in others, while the person who killed her lives free. Investigators say his mom initially planned to move him back to Colombia. He has now filed for asylum.
I hope that he makes something of himself.
Yeah. I hope Tom Homan hears this story and picks up the whole family and deports them all to Colombia. I really do. What is it with the American liberals that have them sympathetic to these monsters like this? And I'll tell you what it is. Do you know what this guy did that has them not worried about him? Why did this illegal, 15 years old, driving illegally, no license, even really stole the car according to his mom, but that's BS. She just doesn't want to be liable. But that's what they said. He stole the car. He had no license. He's driving illegally. Driving 90 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. He killed a girl, 24-year-old girl, and he got away with it, right? 2 years probation, 100 hours community service, so he's got to pick up garbage off the side of the road. And he has to promise to stay in school. That doesn't mean he has to stay in school. He just has to promise to stay in school. get that education he's not entitled to. Why are the liberals sympathetic to this guy? Why did this Democrat judge, who they say was backed by Soros, I don't know, but I saw that in some of the news stories. Why do they do that? Why don't they care? You know why? I mean, this is a terrible thing to say. I hate to have to say this, but what I'm about to say, we saw proven with these refugees from South Africa the other day. He killed a white woman. That's why they don't care. He killed a white girl. They don't care. They hate white people. That's what this is about. Even the white ones hate this, okay? Even white liberals don't like white people. Look at the reactions to these South African refugees. Right? Escaping being murdered. It's sad. I know it's sad. It's sad, but that's the truth, and I hate to say that. But that's what it is. It is their racism. Now I want to ask you this. Do you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy? Oh, man. Neuropathy is the worst. The symptoms of neuropathy, as I go through the symptoms of neuropathy, and you have some of these symptoms, you want to go see them over at Lighthouse Medical too and find out if you have neuropathy. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you think you might have it, but you're not sure. Maybe you have some of these symptoms that never occurred to you. Give them a call. Take advantage of the no-charge consultation for Steve Kane listeners and find out if you have neuropathy. But if you do, Lighthouse Medical has a treatment that works. I've seen it work in Steve Kane and many of our listeners, and it's a treatment that lasts. Steve had his neuropathy treatment over 2.5 years ago. His symptoms have not returned. Here's just some of the symptoms: numbness, pain, burning or tingling in your hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching, the feeling of pins and needles in your hands and feet. Maybe you have no feeling at all. Well, those symptoms will be gone with this treatment from Lighthouse Medical Center. They can help you no matter where you are in the country as well. You don't have to make it in person. Their number is 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Call us on hold. Stand by. We'll be right back. I know, it's terrible. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Yeah, I mean, these are tragic stories. I mean, it's sad to bring them up. It's hard to fathom, you know, as a parent myself. You know, every time you're, you know, I deal with this with a lot of my parent friends, even though my daughter's 26 years old. But people that have younger kids, when your kid drives, that's a scary time. And you know what? It never gets old. You know, my daughter just drove all the way across the United States from Los Angeles to Florida. And even though she's 26, I didn't want her to do it. I didn't want her to do it. And I offered everything I could do to get her to not drive across the United States. And I offered to fly her here. She didn't, and then ship her car, because when she moved to Los Angeles, you know, it's an amazing thing what President Trump has done and how safe he's made this country, even though sadly some of the Obama, Biden, Kamala dreamers are still killing people. It's a lot safer. My daughter, when she moved to California a couple years ago, she moved to Los Angeles. She wanted to drive to Los Angeles from Florida then, and I really did not want her to do it. And she was insisting and insisting and insisting. And then when we did the Google Maps and the iMaps, they showed when you went through the southern states, Texas, Arizona, and these things, there were parts of the road that were red. And there were warnings that it was dangerous because of the illegals. They didn't say illegals, they said migrant crossings and all this stuff. But there were so many illegals coming across the border, it was on Google Maps and iMaps, it said it was unsafe to drive through those areas, and the roads were in red. I'd never seen anything like that before. And when she first told me she wanted to drive from Los Angeles to Florida, the first thing I did was look, and those areas are now safe and everything now, because President Trump has shut down 99.99% of the illegal crossings. We have the Marines on the border. We have the Mexican army on their side of the border. The actual apprehensions are happening and deportation. They're not even coming anymore. So the roads are safe. And she just made it across America safely because of President Trump. And I tried everything to get her to not take the drive. I didn't just offer to fly her. I said, I'll fly you here. She's with a friend. I said, I'll fly you both here and I'll ship the car. Because I didn't want her to drive across the country. And she says, no, we want to do it. I offered to fly them first class to Florida and ship the car. They said, no, we wanted the drive. And then I said, what about if I get you an Amtrak ticket? Because you can still see the country, and I'll get you the cabin, right? Didn't want one of the. So she drove from Los Angeles to Florida, and she vacationed along the way. So she stopped at places all around the country on her way here. So it's been a little more than 2 weeks for her to get here, and she just got to Florida yesterday. And I got to tell you, what a relief it is, right, that she made it to Florida. And then it is. And as a parent, no matter how old your kids get, they're still your kids. And this story today about this 24-year-old girl who was killed by this Obama, Biden, Kamala dreamer. Killed her. And he got away with it. 100 hours of community service. 2 years of probation. And he has to promise to stay in school. Are you kidding me? And so it's scary, especially when you have daughters. Isn't it? Yeah. And I know some of my friends, their kids, they get to that age to drive and they get really nervous and they're like, what's it like? What's it like? You know, and I tell them, I said, well, imagine when we started driving, we didn't have cell phones. So our parents must have really been freaking out. At least now they got the cell phones, right? All right. I'll take a call or two. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Louise.
Hey,
the
Louise.
Max lady
Yes.
from Boca.
Uh-huh. What's up?
You know, you're very low. I don't know why. The audio.
I don't know. Maybe it's the
Anyway,
mask.
Brian,
Yes.
speaking of road killings, accidents, this has been haunting me since it happened. Do you remember the 3 policemen that were killed on 95? They were on the shoulder helping a friend with a dead battery.
Was that the motorcycle officers in Palm Beach? They got hit?
I don't know if they were motorcycle. They were on the shoulder, 3 of them.
Wow.
A woman kills all 3.
Wow.
And gets away with it.
How'd she get away with
has
it?
Haunted me.
She
I have
killed
been
cops?
Following up with the
How-
sheriff's office.
How'd she get away with it?
That's what I want to know. I kept calling the sheriff's office every week to find out more information. The whole darn thing was hushed up. We have no idea who she was. Was she legal? Was she driving without
Well,
a license?
there was I don't know if it's the same instance, but there were these 3 officers that were on the shoulder of the road on Southern Boulevard in Palm Beach. President Trump went to their funeral, if you remember.
Yes.
And it was at 95. It was either Southern Boulevard. I think it was Southern Boulevard, just west of State Road 7. And I agree with you. That was months ago, and I don't know how she killed 3 cops and didn't get arrested. I don't know.
It was all hushed. She was never charged. I asked the woman who answered. I kept calling the sheriff's department weekly. She just got away with it.
I don't know.
Got away with it. She was not charged with vehicular homicide. I can't get over it. And the whole thing was hushed up.
Yeah, and you
What
know
was
this.
it about?
I don't know. I appreciate the
woman
call, Louise. Yeah, I know it was President Trump went to the funeral, surprised them, and went to the funeral. Actually, you know that accident happened right down the street from the airport where President Trump parks Air Force One. But you know this girl that was killed by the illegal he got away with murder. He just got away with murder. And you know, it's on camera. So when you watch the video, you can see she was at a stop sign. She made a complete stop at the stop sign, and then she went. And he was going twice the speed limit was 45. He was going 90. Because he was going twice the speed limit, you couldn't see him down the street when you do the complete stop. And boom, and still, he got away with it. You know, and the Democrats in this country, they're not just racist, even the white Democrats, they hate white people. They hate the American people. They hate the country. And I remember when I was younger, and I would hear a lot of conservatives call liberals the hate America first crowd when I was a kid. And I didn't understand that. I'm like, come on. How could they hate America? It didn't make sense to me. And then when I grew up, I see it. And I see it every single day. Examples of liberals and their hatred of America. Now, the specific things they focus on changes from year to year and decade to decade because there's different issues that are in the news. But if you look at the Democrat Party today, and, you know, they're always supporting others. Oh, I got to mention this before we break. I almost forgot. I watched Outnumbered yesterday on Fox. Any of you ever watch Outnumbered? Kevin McCarthy was on. Kevin McCarthy and the Outnumbered ladies were praising David Hogg like he was the second coming. The discussion was about the DNC firing David Hogg. And Kevin McCarthy was praising David. Oh, he's gonna be somebody. He's gonna run the DNC. He's gonna get elected to office. And the women on the Outnumbered couch on Fox were agreeing. Did anybody see that? This praise that they were doing of David Hogg was sick. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, what are they doing? And it just shows you can never trust Kevin McCarthy. No matter how many good things he says about Donald Trump, never trust Kevin McCarthy. But it wasn't just him. McEnany was on the couch too, and they were all praising David Hogg. At first, I thought they're trying to get David Hogg on Fox or something, and maybe they are. But, I mean, Kevin McCarthy was just going on and on and on about how great David Hogg was. Never heard. It was very strange. Some of the things that go on Fox are just weird sometimes. All right, listen. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Our number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll take our break for the top and be right back. Hey. All right, let me hold on a sec. All right, you there, Steve?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. I was going to go over that thing I told you about before the show. Go over the details of that deal Trump made yesterday. $1.2 trillion.
I'd rather.
You have something else?
Something else?
All right. Wherever you want to go is fine with me.
Okay. Let me take the lead.
About a minute and a half. All right, we got 1 minute.
Okie dokie.
The third hour has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. I'm Brian Craig, Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Oh, how could we not be doing well with all this greatness that President Trump's doing?
Well, I'm not doing so well, so maybe you can help
Oh,
me
my
out.
God. Okay, I mean, you're going to make me your therapist again? Okay.
We had contact earlier in the morning before you went on the air, and just to bring the audience up to date on this, we had a little, I wouldn't say, sometimes we have a little communication problems, largely due to the fact that I'm not an internet person, and if a story is broken exclusively on the internet, sometimes I don't have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we discussed Mark Levin, who is
yes.
one of my absolute favorite hosts on the Fox network. I think he's a great talent. and a big fan of Donald Trump's. And you informed me that there's a major kerfuffle going on now.
Yeah.
Can you share with me, including the background, what led up to it, exactly what you're talking about? Because I haven't been able to find it in my sources, since I'm not an internet person, involved going to the newspapers and Fox TV.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, years ago, before he was on television, I was a big fan of Mark Levin's, and I never missed a show. Even though he was on at night, I would listen to it the next day online. Okay, and he has listened to this show. His parents were hardcore fans of ours, Steve. I didn't talk about it at the time, but they've passed. But Mark Levin's parents were big listeners of this program. That's why Mark knows about us and called us that one time. You remember all that? And, yes. You're going to spend eternity near his parents because they're listeners to this program, right?
Yeah.
They're in the same mausoleum you're going to be in when you pass.
How exciting.
Yeah, I know. I know. So...
My heart is aflutter.
But I was a big fan many years ago of Mark Levin, and I never missed a show. And
he's a main fan. First of all, let's establish a couple of things.
Yeah.
My last contact was this weekend, listening to Mark on the radio. He does Saturday shows and Sunday shows.
Yeah, the Fox TV show.
I caught the Sunday shows that he did.
Well, yeah.
And I caught a little.
Well, I'm going to get. I'm catching up to that. I'm not going to go through the whole. I'm not going to go through the whole 15-year history, but I just want to. But in the first campaign, Mark Levin was a big never Trumper in the beginning of his campaign, after Trump came down the escalator.
But this has been a while ago.
Well, I stopped listening to him for years after that, and then he became friends with Trump. And he got Trump's approval, so I said, okay, if Trump says he's okay, he's okay.
I want to point out at this point in the narrative, recently, in the last couple of weeks, I think Trump has appointed him to a top advisory position.
Yeah, some advisory position. I've forgotten what it is. I'll look it up during the break if you want.
It has to do with the pending trials.
It's some type. Yeah, I'll look it up in a few minutes online. I forget. Yeah, you're right. He got an appointment from President Trump. But there's a rule of thumb, if somebody's a never Trumper and President Trump gives them his seal of approval, that's it. I will always support Trump. I will never disagree nor criticize President Trump, and I'm certainly
going way back. That's ancient history.
And I'm never going to criticize people in his administration unless he does or fires them. But when someone's a never Trumper, I always keep my eye on them. And every once in a while, these never Trumpers, it's like a recovering alcoholic. I've known people in my life that have recovered from alcohol, but every once in a while, they'll have a little drink.
Well, what has he done in the last 2 weeks? He was appointed about 2 or 3 weeks ago to be assistant to assist Trump on some of his.
What happens every once in a while, these never Trumpers, they slip. Whether they're revealing themselves or slip back to their never Trumperism. And Mark Levin did. Well, Mark Levin, his TV show I'm not a fan of. I find his TV show...
And that's the one I'm a big fan of.
Boring as it gets.
Oh,
okay.
my God.
His radio show, I used to listen to it, and it was okay. But, like Rush Limbaugh was the greatest, but his TV show was a little dry when Rush did that TV show, if you guys remember. But... Mark Levin I think his TV show is terminally boring. That's right, I said it, terminally boring, but that's okay. A lot of people like you like it.
What did he say that's got you in this agitated state?
Well, I'm dragging it out to agitate you. He was
Thank you very much.
On his TV show. On his TV show last weekend, he was attacking Steve Witkoff, who's President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, who's responsible for all these great things in large part that's going on in the Middle East.
Let me throw in something for continuity at this point. It is true that last week, Mark Levin believes that Israel and the United States should take out Iran's nuclear capability now, because if we wait too long, there's going to be no Israel. and he thinks we're dragging our feet. He has said that. And he did, of course, I guess he's trying to put a little heat on Trump to take some action.
Well,
so we're
yeah,
up to date on that.
Yeah. Now I've been hearing since George W. Bush was president that Iran is weeks away from a nuclear weapon. So I don't know if that's true or not. I've been hearing that for 20 years that he's so close to nuclear weapons.
Well, if it's not, though, you realize Israel is in mortal danger.
The world's in danger if the Iranians have a nuclear weapon because they fund all the terrorism.
Starting with Israel.
See, yeah, it's true. They'd use it. I don't think they have one, or Trump would take it out.
Separating us.
But what Mark Levin was taking issue with was with that. He wants to, it's nice of him to volunteer people to go fight a war for him. It's very nice of him. He's not going, but he wants others to go.
He doesn't want to start a war. He wants to take out the nukes.
Well, that starts a war. That could start the Third World War, Steve. Iran has a big army. Okay, that could start a major war. Look what happened in Iraq. All right, and they didn't have the military that Iran has.
What's the alternative to that?
But he was going beyond that. He was going after Steve Witkoff for brokering these deals with Afghanistan and Qatar. And this new arrangement that President Trump's making with Syria, when he met with the new leader, and he was talking about how they were behind 9/11 and the Hamas and the Al Jazeera and all this. And in my opinion, okay, that's just my opinion. You know what they say about opinions, but the thing with Witkoff, he wasn't going after Witkoff. He was going after President Trump. Steve Witkoff, who's gotten all these hostages freed and done all these things, he's not some rogue guy doing his own thing. He's a personal representative of President Trump, and he's doing what the president has asked him to do and to do. So to go after Witkoff is to go after Trump. And then Mark Levin, what happened was the day before yesterday, Tucker Carlson went after him about this. Tucker Carlson went after Mark Levin the day before yesterday about this at length on his program, and Tucker Carlson called him a neocon and was and a neocon. What that's become to mean is that means a Bush Republican these days. I know in the past it's meant other things, but when someone calls someone a neocon, they mean you're a warmonger, military-industrial complex-owned Bush Republican, okay? So that's what Tucker was saying when he called him a neocon. And then Mark Levin lost it yesterday on his radio show and was calling Tucker Carlson a schmuck and some other things, okay, about this. And I'm just here to tell you that Mark Levin, I don't care what anybody says, to criticize Steve Witkoff is to criticize Trump.
All right, I have one question.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
That's the whole story.
Let me ask one question, which may put another chapter on the story. What has Trump said since this kerfuffle between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson? What comments has Trump made about it?
None.
So why are you assuming that? I mean, he hasn't fired Levin, who he just hired.
Well, Levin has. I mean, I'll look up the Trump appointment, but it's not that big of a deal, Steve. He made him he made him a Homeland Security advisor. It's an unpaid thing, and President Trump's not going to get involved in this pettiness. But see, this is what's going on, Steve. Okay. The Bush Republicans, the establishment Republicans.
But Mark Levin, if you listen to Mark Levin, which you don't, but if you did listen to Mark Levin, he's anything but a Bush Republican.
I don't agree with that. I think he's. This is what I think. Okay, I'll tell you what I think. He's been around for a long time. Remember, he worked for the Reagan administration, so he goes way back. The Bush Republicans, the neocons, the establishment Republicans. Okay. What they're doing now is regrouping, making bonds, making friendships, and making plans for after Trump's out of office.
But Mark Levin isn't one of them.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I'll leave it up to
I'd like to hear from on this. We're
our,
gonna say we're
our
coming
callers.
We're coming up on a break.
Yeah.
We're coming up on a break, but after the break, I'd like to hear from Richie on this. Richie, if
Richie,
you're out there.
Of course he's out there. Richie, the bus driver.
And I'd like to. We're missing a piece here, and I'm trying to figure out
Well,
what it is.
so this is the question. You may ask it in a different way, but this is the question from my viewpoint that you're asking people to comment on at 1-888-465-2631, toll free. Is Mark Levin MAGA or fake MAGA? Is Mark Levin pretending to be, can I add something to it, Steve, before we break? What happened is Glenn Beck destroyed his career. He's never recovered from being a never Trumper in the first campaign. And a lot of conservatives all of a sudden became MAGA, who were never Trumpers, after they saw what happened to Glenn Beck. All right? So is Mark Levin real MAGA or fake MAGA? All right, I'll put you on hold, Steve. We'll take our break and be back. Steve, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, we'll take some calls when we get back.
See, put a call out for Richie.
You did. You just did.
I mean, but checking in my.
I can't do that right now. But you'll call, please.
But you got to go to the phones for that.
Well, we're in a break.
And I'm saying when we get back.
Okay. Back in 2 minutes. If you're on hold, hang in there. Is Mark Levin MAGA or fake MAGA? That's the question. Alex Jones went after him too, but Tucker.
That's not my question. My question is,